Hello and welcome to the Metapod Podcast, the Pokemon podcast that revolves around the evolving meta. My name is Jake. That's Sean, and Sean, we're bigger and better and crisper sounding than
Yeah,
last week. Audio listeners, I don't know if you've already recognized, but I have a new microphone.
that's
Does this
right.
sound like different to you? I don't know. I can't hear myself.
No, I think Jake is now at a point where maybe Jake's audio quality has surpassed mine. Got that
Well,
got
it's
that
like
fancy mic.
Well, it's like before on the old mic, I could not touch the microphone at all, or else chaos would ensue. But now I can manhandle the mic, I can throw it every which way possible, like, I could do all these things, and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, very excited for that as I put my mic back. Uh,
Gently put it back into place.
yeah, gently put it back, but, Sean, how was your week?
My week was good. I'm not gonna lie, Jake. My weekend was a little crazy. Longtime listeners and viewers might have
Oh my
noticed.
gosh, yeah, are you okay?
Might have
We tried to
noticed.
ping you in Discord.
Oh, did you? I haven't
Yeah!
checked. Longtime listeners and viewers might know that I wear Mavs hats. I am from Dallas originally. I have a newspaper clipping from when they won the championship in 2011. I was at the final game of the 2006 finals where they lost to the Heat. I'm deep in this. And they traded Luka Doncic. And the world doesn't make sense anymore, Jake. Nothing makes sense.
So, like, I know sports,
Yeah.
right? Because I
You work in
work in sports,
sports.
and I've worked in sports for years now. God, I'm getting old. But, um, when this trade broke out, I try my best not to get sports in my, like, content and fun and card game stuff. Because like, when I go to work, I wanna think about sports, and I don't really wanna think about sports
That's your job.
24/7, yeah. It was all over my time. I could
Oh, yeah.
not escape from it. Like, when Tom Brady retired and Bill Belichick retired, like, I didn't know about it for a little bit. I got away with that one. This, I could not get away from this.
I
The
will
whole
say,
world knows about this.
I rocked up to League, Pokemon League. That was the first thing every single person talked to me about was like, what is going on? And obviously, I don't know what's going on. I don't work for the
Mhm.
Mavs. I am
Yeah.
just a lowly, very sad fan right now. So this is not a sports podcast. I think, hit me up if you want my unfiltered takes. I might, you know what, I might even do like a Discord like Q&A live session
Oh,
for,
that's funny.
in the group. If the Discord group wants it, let me know if there's like 10 plus people who want to listen to what I think, because I do know a bit about the Mavs. I do know a bit about the
Mhm.
Mavs ownership changes and all of that. And I have some actual theories, not like crackpot theories. My joke with my dad, my crackpot theory. No, never mind. I can't even go there. It's crazy. It's crazy, Jake.
It's I mean, it's a blockbuster in the sports world, and you know what? Pokemon has also had some blockbuster pieces of news
It's true.
recently that I think we even touched on a little bit last week, but we won't get into those right away. It's kind of a heavy-hitting topic. So, but we've got a ton of stuff that we can talk about in this podcast today. The first one, if you're going crazy over prismatic evolutions, because who is not, right? You got to get your Master Ball Budoos and your Pokeball Budoos and your regular Budoos, because that's what everybody's searching for, right?
Or maybe
Prismatic.
the Reggie
Oh,
Gigas.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Reggie Gigas is. I've completely forgot because we're
All
talking about
right.
Budoo all the
All
time.
right.
It feels like Reggie Gigas, there's a couple, great cards in there, some would say. Don't know about this Umbreon though. But anyways, Prismatic Evolutions is going to be releasing a premium figure collection, and it's going to include an Umbreon EX and Espeon EX. Now, this will release in September, long, long time from now. That's literally 8 months.
Yeah.
What?
It's a while. But I mean, I think that goes to show everybody who's freaking out about Prismatic, right? We got the notice from Pokemon that they're going to print more, and just realizing that like this set is going to be trickling out in various products for like 9 to 12 months.
Yeah.
So,
It's
there'll be more.
the planning is so far ahead, and um there are potential to create alternative versions of these cards in English and Japanese. We're suspecting at least that this will come in Japanese first, right? Like these new arts, and then we'll get in them as well. I believe they've done stuff like this before. This was like the Rayquaza and Zoroark Hidden Fates boxes, I think,
Oh yeah,
where they're
the big figures that you get. There's a Pikachu one as well. They did a Charizard one
yeah,
recently.
Pikachu, Gigantamax. Yeah, there's a Charizard that's all over, like, stores and things like that that nobody's going for some reason. Shockingly enough, those figures are actually pretty good quality in my opinion, but, um, it's gonna be really interesting. One thing that PokeBeach has noted as well is that except for the surprise box being one of the, products, none of our Prismatic Evolution products have featured direct reprints from the set. Furthermore, the double rare versions of Espeon and Umbreon have already released in the surprise box. So that's kind of what the assumption is for new alternate arts or new promo arts for these products is coming from because, you know, we've seen it on Pokemon, in these boxes. I just went the other day and I saw some tins of some of the, ancient Pokemon,
Hmm.
like Walking Wake and, Raging Bolt and stuff, and I was like, "This is the same exact card as the promo. This is
Yeah.
the regular G or EX as a promo." So, gonna be really cool that Prismatic Evolutions has something different than that. I'm sure the premium figure collections, I feel like, have a ton of packs too, like 10 packs or something like that.
Yeah, they'll
Um,
usually I will say they'll be expensive relative to the number of packs, but I
yeah,
think
if you can
that's
find one.
yeah, but I also think that's why they'll probably have some sort of new art is between the figurine and the new art of the card. That's what's going to help push that price.
Mhm.
So, but Jake, there's another product that is releasing, and this one's actually coming out a little bit sooner. Which I'm actually very excited about this one. I might try to find this for myself. So this one is a super premium collection. So the other one is a premium figure collection. This is a super premium collection. I don't know if we know anything about an ultra premium collection yet, but who knows? All these words.
Mhm.
Um,
There's so many, like, keywords to these products that it's
it's
I
a little
mean,
silly.
we talk about stuff every week on this podcast, and sometimes we get things mixed up, right? And this is a prime example about I am sure that I got mixed up the last one for this one or whatever. It's so
Yeah.
crazy. Anyways, continue, Sean. I'm sorry for
No,
my
you're good. This one's releasing.
distraction.
This one's releasing in May though, May 16th. And why I'm so excited about this is one, it comes with 15 packs of Prismatic Evolution. So that's I think the largest number of packs that we've seen in any product to date. But it also is going to come with the Fruit Dessert EV promo, a playmat, sleeves, a deck box, code card, all that good stuff. But um, the fun thing about this is, I'm sure Jake, you probably remember. There have been other ones. I think there was a Hidden Fates
There's a
one.
Marnie one.
There's the Marnie
Yeah.
one. I think there was a Hidden
Mhm.
Fates one, but like really cool, like big products that come with a playmat. The playmat is also likely going to be really cool. It's probably going to feature all the evolutions. This fruit dessert EV is also very cute. Um, so overall, I'm pretty hyped about this specific product. Because personally, like figures are nice, but I have many figures behind me and around me. I don't necessarily need more. Um,
I
but
could say the same
this,
thing about playmats,
well,
but
yeah,
yet
but
I still buy
they're
playmats.
flat. They're so stackable though, you know?
I actually, this might be a life hack for anybody who just has an overflow of playmats. I have like a rack hanging on my door, and it's like this unrollable sleeve, and on that sleeve are like little circle tubes that you just stick a playmat on. So, like on my door, I can't show you guys, but on my door into this room, my office, there's like 20 to 25 playmats. on this rack, and that's where all my playmats go, and it's incredible.
I mean, that's life hack for y'all. It's a good way to
Yeah,
also store the playmats where it's not like taking up space in like a drawer or anything like that. So,
yeah.
um, yeah. So, Jake, how do you feel about this product? Are you gonna try to pick this one up? Does this tickle your fancy, so to speak?
I I love these products, right? Because like we just talked about, like I love the playmats, right? The playmats are usually like it's a typical, stitched quality playmat. I think they're stitched usually. They might not be stitched actually. They might not be rubber stitched. It
They
is a
are
rubber
rubber. Yeah.
playmat. Yeah. But the playmats, I've had many Pokemon product playmats before, through the team challenge. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the team challenge playmat, prize pack playmats from like regionals and stuff. They're always really cool. And so, especially after it released, I probably will not go out and try and find a box because it's prismatic evolutions, it's expensive, right? 15 packs, people are gonna be all over this, but what I will say is it'll be so nice on the secondary market like eBay or something to go buy this playmat. I mean, we don't have the, actual art yet for it, but I'm sure, like you said, it's gonna be beautiful, gonna feature all the evolutions on it, things like that. So that's what I'm most excited for because it's honestly super cheap and the promo is probably gonna be really cheap too. So if you're a promo collector, which is I mean, if you go out and buy the playmat by itself and the promo by itself, I bet you're gonna save a ton of money.
And I will say the world of Pokemon's crazy right now. Do you remember the ultra premium Charizard collection that had the three arts of Charizard
Yes.
promos?
Isn't
I
that just no, 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 that's the figure that I'm thinking of,
Well, there was the
but
V
I do know what you're
Star,
talking
the alternate
Yeah.
V Max, and then I think a V or an
Yeah.
EX. But that one, I'm seeing the art from that V Star and stuff like that really spiking in price now on like people like
Mhm.
grading and selling it. Um, so that's all to say. If you want this kind of card, make sure to pick it up within the first 6 months of it being a product
Yeah.
that's out there because I don't know why the other promos are going that crazy. I don't think they're that rare, but the world is crazy right now, so get them sooner
I
rather
think
than
it's
later.
I think it's one of those things where, when a Pokemon flood happens I mean, we talked about this was it last week? Did we talk about this last week? The Jesse and James
Oh
Hidden
yeah.
Fates just skyrocketed.
Yep.
It's when this craze of promos or when this craze of Pokemon happened and so many people enter the space and so many people get into it, a lot of people figure out what the cards are, and then they go back and look at the cards, and then there's this mass buying
hmm
of stuff as people who come in get really interested, right? So, um, I think it's pretty typical that things are spiking up like crazy right now.
So Jake, those are the two like new products. That's really all
Mhm.
the product news that we got for everybody today. But I think this is a perfect lead in to the fact that yes, the market is kind of crazy right now. It has been for the last 6+ months. Um, and I think the interesting thing is that has sort of led to what I'm going to generously call bad behavior in in the hobby of people scamming others and of sites and whole businesses being created to try to exploit people's whether it's FOMO or desire to open product, whatever it might be. So the rest of this episode is going to be talking about all the things for you to just know, maybe to watch out for. I don't know if our listeners are, buying some of these crazy cards that we're going to talk about in a second, but just be aware that the world is kind of crazy in the Pokemon world. So, Jake, what is the first story that we have?
This will probably not affect 99% of you, but it's nice to sip your coffee
Mhm.
and look at the sidelines to watch all of this unfold. So, over the summer, all of a sudden these prototype Pokemon cards popped up. And what I mean by prototype Pokemon cards is, back in like the 90s or whatever, when they were testing out this game before base set released in Japan, they had these set of promo cards that they were using and playing with to see how the game would feel, any changes that they would need to make. etc., etc. And all of a sudden, the grading company CGC just popped up a ton of these. They just started showing that they were grading all of these cards. They seemingly popped out of nowhere after 20 to 25 years or whatever. And they're all the rage, right? Some of these ranging, in the thousands of dollars and things like that. CGC, I think, also has like a website where you can buy like some graded cards, almost like an eBay type thing. Right, like this Pikachu CGC, prototype 9 from 1995, graded A9. Final price $24,500. This coughing, right? Coughing, maybe not everybody's favorite Pokemon, when you think of the original 151, selling for 19,500. And so it's crazy. These become like over the summer, these had become like the centerpiece of collecting. Like if you wanted to assert your dominance in the collecting space, right? And say, I have a sick collection, you went out and bought one of these prototype cards. Which I mean are very cool. I'm not gonna lie. Like having it be if I had millions of dollars that I could just spend on a moment's notice and not have any thought whatsoever, I would buy one of these because 'cause they're really cool, right? I will not downplay that. But one of the buyers of this card, someone basically like on a Reddit server, I think, realized through a forensic technique that many of the cards were actually printed in the summer of 2024. So, kind of around the time that they started popping up, they were like, hey, these weren't printed as a lot of these cards weren't printed as prototypes. They're actually fake. They're actually scams
Yep.
in a sense. Um, the reasoning that they found this is that every card that's printed has or just printing in general, right? Printing has a code on it. And so with the code that you can see, and you can't see it with the naked eye, so don't grab your, hollow psychic energy from prismatic evolutions and try to find this code because you probably won't find it. But if you have like special equipment, right, you can find the hidden watermarks on the different cards and find basically the printer's serial number and the date of the pages that it was printed. So the government does this all the time to track documents and things like that. But many of the cards exposed to have, I believe it's June 2024. Like the date is in June 2024 that they were printed on there. So it's obvious to say at that point that, wow, lots of this are fake, especially these
Yeah.
prototype cards. And it brings a whole other level of just craze about what is going on,
Yeah.
right, with these cards. Cause like this is crazy. Right. They were literally just printing money. And I will say, I believe from the post, I can't verify um this through anything, but I feel like because I read the whole like Reddit post and stuff when this first came out like last week.
Yep.
Some of the cards are real.
So,
And some of them are the actual prototypes, but a lot of them are fakes.
yeah, I think there is like some also logic outside of the forensic analysis, which it's useful that
Mhm.
the forensic analysis is there to like confirm. But looking at the real ones, Jake, at the bottom of this PokeBeach article, there's
Oh,
an
yes, yes,
update.
yes.
The real ones,
Yes.
there's like a very high quality version of the Bulbasaur, the Charmander, and the Squirtle. These were confirmed using that analysis to have been printed in 1996.
Mhm.
And what's interesting about all of these is if you look at the grades, you have 5.5, 7.5, 7.5,
Yeah.
right? These are getting like, lightly played to moderately played grades. And then like the idea that you have playtest cards. I will say this, Jake, as somebody who has, is sort of in the process of like making a card game and has played with other designers and developers of games that use playtest cards that are actually printed on cardstock,
Mhm.
you don't print so many copies of things that you don't use them, right? Like the only way something is a 10 after 30 years is if it literally sits in a shoebox and does nothing. You're not printing playtest cards like that. So the fact that all of these that came out of the woodwork in the last year, these like grail items that people didn't even know if they existed, and they're all grading at like nines and tens. I'm like, no, they're play test cards. They're designed to be played to like either see how the game feels or convince somebody like a publisher to like publish the game or whatever. So the grades on the other ones being in the 5 to 7 realm, I'm like, yeah, I buy that. You know, you're not playing these for years, but like you're playing with the cards.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
it's
it's just
crazy.
crazy how, like, all of this stuff has popped up, and I could have sworn that maybe it was the Reddit post, but there are pictures and things and stuff that have resurfaced and, like, people admitting to, like, doing this, and there's pictures of people just printing it at, printing these
Yeah,
cards
at a
at, like, a
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven,
Yeah.
right? And just imagine you're at the 7-Eleven getting a hot dog or something, and then all of a sudden this guy is printing out Pokemon cards next to
He's
you,
like, "Yo,
or,
what you
like,
doing over there, my guy?"
he's literally just printing
Money.
money, right? And, I mean, in total, through purchases, like, this is millions of dollars we're talking about, specifically just for these cards, and I already told you a couple of, what they recently sold for, some of those prices, like, they are not cheap at all, it's actually insane.
So, the awkward part about this is that not every printer that ever existed uses these techniques, but a lot of them do. And they have confirmed that a number of the beta cards, I believe, especially, might contain this code that says it was printed in 2024. The
Mhm.
alpha cards, I think people are a little less sure of, but like what it really does is it puts into question the whole lot of alphas and betas, especially ones that maybe don't have a history of sale before 2024. And honestly, it's there's a part of me that feels a little bad because I think CGC they're not trying to pull one over on people, but
Yeah.
you know, the fact that an independent, like just a person, is out here doing this forensic analysis and being like, "Hey, CGC, you're out here authenticating cards that you think are going to sell for all this money." And also, there's not like a big question in your mind of like, "Wow, how did hundreds of these cards just show up 30 years later?" That seems funky.
That's like a
Um,
lot of people, like, because I watch some card collecting on YouTube and stuff like that, and a lot of people had brought that up of, like, this is really weird, and this is really sus, and I agree, like, knowing that those cards existed, like, I mentioned that, if I had millions of dollars, I would love to get one of them, but all in all, it was so weird.
yeah. So, and CGC is definitely taking a big hit here as well from a PR perspective of
From a
like,
brand perspective of, like, do you trust the grades now? Like, are they doing their
yeah,
actual checks at this point? I don't like thinking the blame is on CGC because, like, it probably just is in nobody's. It could have happened to any, like, grading company, right? Of like,
sure.
because I don't think any grading company is looking at, the printing codes
That's
for
true.
for any of these. So it's like it's a really difficult spot right now, I feel like. But
Yeah.
yeah, CGC taking the brunt of it all.
I think that the biggest knock on CGC really is that it wasn't just they were used as a middleman service to help grade the cards and then they wash their hands of it. They were very much a big part in promoting all of this. So for them, it was like, oh, this buyer chose to use CGC to authenticate them. And so if you're CGC, you're like, oh, we're going to be the only company that has beta and alpha graded cards then. There won't be any beta and alpha cards graded by PSA or BGS. So like there
Mhm.
is some benefit to the company by doing that. They're promoting that. So like And I agree. Like I've never heard of anybody doing this type of printer test. So outside my wheelhouse to know whether or not CGC should have known that. That said, these cards are so rare that like authenticating them, like there isn't a clear like playbook for how you authenticate these. Whereas like, first edition cards, you know, base set and jungle or e-reader or even modern cards, right? Authenticating them is like a little easier because there's thousands of them, millions of them out there, right? So I don't know. I'm in like I'm of two minds about how much I think they should have like really scrutinized and used more evidence other than well, and a former employee at Creatures says they're real, and they look like what they should look like, I guess. So seems real to us. There might have been a little bit more than that, but still, um, yeah, it's a little unfortunate, but yeah.
It's a
So
wild time, but we do know that one other card has made its way into the forged conversation, the famous Pikachu Illustrator card
yep,
and some Pikachu trophy card sheets being being I guess realized is the right conclusion.
created.
Yeah, created in 2024 and not the, way back when. I think we talked about when the Illustrator card was sold, it was sold as, like, the highest ever card, and especially graded card, I think, at the time.
Yep. So the details on this one, you might recognize a similar name, uh, a former Creatures employee who was involved in selling these uncut sheets.
Mhm.
Takumi Akabane was like, hey, I retired 15 years ago, 17 years ago. I've just been sitting on a few grails, and to be frank, former employees, it's not that uncommon for former employees of various companies to have personal collections of
Oh, of
certain things.
course.
That so
Yeah.
it's not like that out of the realm. But um the idea that like, okay, so all of these playtest cards came from him and they're all fake. And now this illustrator sheet came from this former employee and it's probably fake. Huh. Ew, yikes. This is not great. But yeah, it's a Pikachu illustrator. Uncut sheets were sold to a Chinese buyer, and yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. The trophy cards, the illustrator cards they're awesome cards. People collect trophies like this, but ooh, I it's I think the era of like collecting these like grails, especially Japanese grails, it's gonna be an awkward year for that market in particular.
Mhm.
Because these cards they're so rare in general that that the only places that new ones can ever come from, everybody's going to look at a new card on the market with a little bit of a side eye, I think.
It's gonna be I don't think there's gonna be this, like, huge effect of, "Oh my god, now every card, how do I know if
No.
it's real or fake?" Like, I don't think it gets that big, but you're right. On the high-end market where people are buying these grails and putting out so much money, it's gonna be, a tightrope walk, I feel like a lot of times, and just to let you all know that the Pikachus were discovered the same way by looking at the, like, printer serial in a sense, so, finding out the dates of that, so it's man,
Yeah.
all 3 cards of the Pikachu trophy cards awarded between 1997 and 1998 the top 3 finishers at Japan's national tournaments sold for nearly $800,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Illustrator cards sold for $5,000,000.
so I
Ugh.
I see why somebody would want to forge these because A, if there's only 4 of these in existence or 5, then like pretty hard to get a comparison, right? hard to be
And
like,
also, it's like it's one of those things too that, like, if there's 5 in existence, for example, it's very, very common in collecting spaces that you only know where 4 exist,
mhm,
right? Or, like, 3 exist. because one of them is with somebody's grandmother and it's just sitting in a basement, or one of them was destroyed because, you got it when you were a kid. And I wrote in pen on my Machamp EX Hollow promo, so
Yeah.
then my siblings couldn't have it. So, like, stuff like that. So it's crazy because, like, especially if you don't know where some of them are, like we just said that, um, the trophy cards were awarded between 1997, 1998 to the top 3 finishers at Japan's national tournaments. You know how many there are, but if you don't know where some of them are, you could make a copy of it and then just be like, "Oh, yeah, it's right here," right? And
Yeah.
who's gonna tell you otherwise?
Yeah. Um,
It's
it's
crazy.
it's pretty crazy, but yeah, yeah. I mean, so all that to say, on the super high end of the collecting spectrum, we have this crazy scam that sort of broke news over the last like couple of weeks. Um, but then I will also say, since we're in it, right? Like, and I think this is largely driven by the craze in Pokemon that's going on internationally, but a little bit more close to home, and with like more modern cards, the craze has also created a whole industry that that some of you might be familiar with what this looks like from other places. And I'm going to call out one company in particular, but keep in mind that this is not the only company that's operating like this. So
And especially as this gets more successful, you'll see more companies operate like this.
I have the boxed.gg website up, and I will, Jake, have you seen anything from box.gg? Where do you see this company?
I see it on freaking YouTube advertisements. Targeting YouTube ads are close, but not quite there. They know that I like cards.
Hmm.
They know that I'm interested in card collecting and card spaces, but dang, they don't realize that I hate the advertisement on this website, that I am big boomer, I guess you could say.
Yeah, so I get them all on Instagram too, and as I was
Oh,
like
you get them
seeing
on
this,
Instagram.
yeah, I got them on Instagram a lot, but I don't have ads on YouTube. That's probably why. I
Oh.
I got that premium. I got that YouTube premium. Um, but I get their ads on Instagram, and there was a moment when I was like, I want to like, what is this thing, right? Like, it's like advertising that I can win a Moonbreon or I can win Charizard or whatever. And I will say, I got interested in this because a few weeks ago, I was watching a video from a YouTuber named CoffeeZilla. Um,
Mhm.
and he does a lot of like crypto scams, but he's branched out a little bit. And one of the videos he did recently was a multi-part series about CS:GO skin gambling websites. So, for those of you who don't know, a CS:GO skin gambling website, because I don't expect many people to be that knowledgeable on this unless you're like in it. You can buy loot boxes in Counter Strike Go um, on Steam from the publisher. You open those, and you have a small chance to get like some crazy skin for like a knife or a gun or whatever in the game. Now, what makes this all possible is that you can then take that skin and use it as basically collateral or whatever, like money, on these websites that allow you to open more loot boxes for the chance to get even rarer things. It's a very small chance, but so there's this whole industry worldwide of people creating digital loot boxes for, in CSGO's case, digital objects. But like, you know, you basically get to open a digital loot box and whatever. The reality of all of that is that it really is they're using all of these cues from casinos of like it spins you through all the potential cards you could buy. It lands so close to the one that you might want to get. Um, and Box.gg, and I brought CSGO gambling up because Box.gg is effectively the exact same website, except they are doing it for card games. And the
Mhm.
reason you can also know that it's the exact same thing is that Box.gg does CSGO skin gambling on the site. It also does skin gambling. So bringing this all up to say, to sort of warn people that our space has gone so crazy that people are opening loot boxes, digital loot boxes, for the chance to win physical cards. But Jake, I'll open the floor to you. I've sort of given a brief explanation, but like any thoughts, questions that you think the viewers or listeners might have.
I think it's really interesting. So I mean, I'll be honest, I hate it.
Hmm.
I don't like it. But also I think about how Pokemon cards are so hard to get right now. We talked about it on the podcast. I couldn't find any Surging Sparks.
Yep.
Prismatic evolutions. People are literally beating each other up in a Costco, right? Like
Yeah.
to get
Blooming
these
waters. Oh
cards.
no.
Yeah, blooming waters. Cards are so hard to find right now. And so it's really interesting seeing this company ramp up the advertising and really trying to maximize people not being able to get cards, because this effectively is a way now to get cards, to get the whatever, dose of serotonin in your brain that comes when you open a Pokemon pack, right? Or at least to try to replicate that same serotonin. Now, do I like it? No. Do I acknowledge it? Yes. And it's really interesting to see something like this pop up, and I don't think it'll stop anytime soon, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's kind of going to be around for a while, and similar to like Whatnot, right? I
Sure.
mean, Whatnot is different, but similar to Whatnot, if you're not in the space and you're not interested in the space, it will not affect you,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Like I don't
It's other
I
people's
only go
money.
on Whatnot. Yeah, I only go on Whatnot when my friend, is streaming on Whatnot, trying to get rid of his bulk cards or whatever. But um, it it's so like, ugh.
Yeah. And I just want to give people a deeper explanation as to like why I think that this is problematic, because there's
Yeah,
a
you
few
have
reasons.
way more thoughts and
Yeah.
opinions and sophistication, and I'm just like, ugh, feels gross. Ooga booga.
So I have on the screen, Jake. I know you can't see it, but the viewers on YouTube can see it, and the listeners, like, I'm not going to suggest you go to box.gg, but like for the viewers, I'm like opening a demo box because they allow you to like get a demo of what it feels like to open this box, and I'm like, that's just the drug dealer giving you a free hit so that you come back and buy more, right? That's how that works. Like, let's get it straight. They're
It's the
using
free sample,
Right.
you
They're
know?
using psychological tactics in order to convince you that this is going to be fun. And the way that this all works, and the reason that it gets kind of grimy, is a couple things. So they'll take your money from wherever. They'll take it from your debit card, your credit card, your cryptocurrencies, and then they will happily, pay you out theoretically in whatever too. But the way it works is you give them money and then they convert that into gems, because you can't legally use actual money to open these loot boxes directly, because that would be too close to literal gambling, legally speaking.
Mhm.
But we know that converting dollars into a virtual currency, all of your favorite apps, mobile apps, and things do this. That disconnect makes you see it less like money. And so you don't realize how much you're spending. You don't realize that, the conversion is very difficult. Like I see here, oh, this Umbreon is worth 198,000 gems. How much is that? I have no context for what that means.
Mhm.
I just know it's a big number and it's bigger than other numbers. And so when you ask me to open a box and that box costs 20,000 gems to open, and I'm like, but I could win a 200,000 gem Umbreon, stonks, right? like I,
If you're lucky, punk.
See, that's the thing, is it, if you're lucky. And the way that this system works, you open the box, you get whatever card you end up getting, and then you have the option to either keep the card inside of your you know, stuff, or immediately convert the card back into gems so that you can keep opening boxes. Now, truth is, the house always wins. The statistics say that like the more you do this, the more you will lose. It's statistically designed to do that. And the idea that you can turn them back into gems is just trying to create a loop so that you feel like, well, it's not so bad. Oh, I spent $20, but I got 15 back, and I'll spend that 15. And, and so that's one major issue. In my mind, it is far too close to actual gambling. And then secondarily, there's an issue that I have with when you actually go to cash out. These aren't just digital JPEGs, by the way. These are the promise of getting that real card in the mail if you decide to cash out. Now, there have been instances I have seen on videos where people go to cash out, and what ends up happening is that they get the package in the mail, and it's literally just a TCG player order that the company has made and then sent to their address. And while that is like not inherently a bad thing, what it suggests is that the company itself is not keeping a lot of inventory on hand. And so there is no real guarantee. Like if you win this Umbreon EX, what's the guarantee that you can actually get it in the mail? Because if the company doesn't have any and they need to go source it from eBay or TCG Player, that's a problem. And it's a problem because if all of a sudden you go to cash out and that Umbreon has jumped to 2x what it was when they were offering the box, there have been instances of this company saying, oh, we couldn't really find you a copy of that card. Sorry, but here's the gems. And it's like, so I won. I did your gambling. I won. And instead of giving me what I won, you said, well, we can't give you what you won, but here's a chance to gamble some more. What are we doing here?
The Umbreon EX, for anyone who doesn't know, you can get it for the low listing of $1,300. So when this is the Prismatic Evolutions, when you win one, what Sean is saying is when you win one of Prismatic Evolutions Umbreon EX alternate art on this MoxGG site, the company has to spend that money on the listing to go get it and then send it to you. And I don't know how that's a good business model outside of like, I don't know how that's
I,
a good business model outside of you making sure that people don't get the high rolls often enough.
I mean, I can tell you why it works for a company like this, because the more inventory it's like any business, right? If you're holding inventory, and that inventory is not necessarily particularly liquid, that's a lot of investment. But if you don't ever have to actually hold inventory, that also means you don't have to handle the inventory, right? You don't have to necessarily have people packaging every order. Now, I do know that,
Mhm.
they do have some graded cards that they hold in a store or a warehouse somewhere, but the less of that you have to do, it's less work. You're basically outsourcing the work of card distribution from your site to third-party sellers on TCG Player, unbeknownst to them. And two, you don't have any money locked up. So where it comes to bite them in the butt is if they do a box and somebody wins it and the card that they won is all of a sudden way more expensive than they had anticipated in their line item for paying it out, because it isn't like paying out in cash. Cash is just cash, right? If I win $1,000, here's $1,000. It doesn't cost me one day $2,000 to give somebody 1,000. So that's why I'm sure they have a system that says, well, if a card price goes above this expected cost on TCG Player, we can't give it to them or else we'll go out of business. And so that's
Yeah.
where it becomes problematic, because it's like, ugh.
It's like, what are you doing?
Well,
And
yeah.
I have a good feeling that when you get that credit back or those gems or something in repayment, you'll spend it and you won't get as cool as what you got.
Right. And you won't win because the odds that you win again are so low that it's like, what are we doing? And so, and I think your point was really, really good, which was like, this is preying off of the reality that it's hard to find product that people want to open.
Mhm.
Like if you really want to open Prismatic Evolutions, but it's nowhere to be found, on your phone, on your computer, you can go to this website And look, you can gamble and maybe get an Umbreon yourself. You don't have to fight people in Target, you know?
And look, if you use this, I'm not gonna sit here and
No,
rag
it's
on
not.
you, right? Like,
Yeah.
how many times who raise your hand, audio listeners, I'm sorry, you can't see Sean or I raise our hand. Raise your hand if on Pokemon Pocket you bought Pokegold to open 10 packs, right? You
Yeah.
spend money, real money on this currency to get 10 packs of no alternate arts, right?
Yeah.
No EXs.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me. I mean, oh gosh, what's the phrase that I'm looking for? Like Genshin Impact, Pokemon Masters.
Oh, I don't
It's
know.
a type of game. You
Gotcha game?
roll. Gotcha game. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like gotcha games, but now with Pokemon cards,
Eh,
right? And I would imagine that Box GG probably doesn't consider them too much different than Pokemon Pocket, I would say, because at least
I
in Box GG you get the actual card,
well, not always.
the physical card. Well, a lot of times I'll say,
I mean, yeah,
but
I don't know the percentage, but, like, there have been instances where they don't, but the reality is, all of this is just gambling,
it's wild.
and like, I don't like I said, I don't blame people who use this because let's be frank, if I am on a page and I see and I'm gonna open it up again for the viewers, I'm, like, scrolling down, they have a special box that they created that's called Prismatic Evolutions, and it only has the hits, right? It's only the good stuff from the set. Now, this box will cost me $20 to open one. That's what the cost to open one is. But I'm like, but look at all the good stuff, right? Like this is amazing.
Look what
Um,
all you can get.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's all good stuff. Like they make a box where like the worst card you can get is a full art Giacomo, right? And you think to yourself, oh, I got a Giacomo. It's only like $1 card. But
Yeah,
it feels better than opening a pack and getting literally no hits. But the problem
just a
is
regular rare.
and I can see why people would be like, this seems fun, right? Like I get to look at pretty pictures and I get to open things that I can't do normally. But that's what's sinister is it's preying off of people's like own feelings of like, I can't do this. So that's why I just think stuff like this, you know, I would say it's a free country. I don't know anymore. Crime is legal,
It's
but like,
Prime
but
is
but like,
I mean, it's one of those things, like I said earlier, if you're not into gotcha, if you're not into, these kind of offhand ways of obtaining, that's not TCG player, local card shops, packs, physical packs, IRL packs, this probably will not affect you. You will
yeah,
probably not be into this.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
I was hesitant to even do this because I'm like, I don't want more people to know about this. Even with like our podcast, we're not Tricky Jim, but like, you know, uh, the fewer people who know about this, the better. But I do think a lot of people are probably seeing these ads. A lot of people are probably considering going into this, and like, I don't want to yuck anybody's yum, but I do think it's important to know that these are predatory like websites. These are predatory schemes.
I would
Um,
also say do your own research.
sure, yeah, I
Make
think
sure
that's
you look
important.
up, especially anything card game related. I mean, we just talked about how these people were literally printing cards at 7-Eleven and then tried to tell everybody that they're worth tens of thousands of dollars, right? If they can do it, especially in the card collecting space, you got to be really careful what you're buying.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll mention here, this is important because of the comparison to CS:GO, is CS:GO websites, their whole tactic is finding influencers and getting them to promote the site and getting them to open on stream, make videos out, etc. And those influencers, the way that they get paid oftentimes is a combination of straight up payments, but also affiliate codes. Now, affiliate codes
Yeah, I
aren't
mean
inherent. Yeah.
that was the whole gambling meta on Twitch where all the streamers were
That's and
just doing
that's
like this online casino.
and that's
It's the
these are
same
the
thing.
same thing, right? And uh, so just also like if I don't know if Box.gg is ever going to do any of that to like to what degree they'll do it, but like keep an eye out for this or similar sites. If you see people who you really like, maybe like promoting this, be wary that like the person promoting it may not be a bad person, but like there's a lot of money in gambling. And so,
Mhm.
don't just I think it's good to be armed with knowledge, in the world.
It's a crazy time we live in, but the Metapod podcast will keep you updated on all things the Pokemon trading card game, both playing and collecting. Sean, I'm gonna put you on the spot. What's the best deck heading into Prismatic Evolutions format? Ready, set, go.
Lugia.
Oh no, it's Gardevoir. I'm sorry. Anyways, we'll talk about who was right and who was wrong in a later week. Pokemon also bring back placings on the Pokemon Play promos. I want my first place promos
Yeah.
back. I missed those dearly. Those were so cool. First, second, third, fourth. Anyways, I'm Jake. That's Sean. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you later.